Welcome back to Excuse Our Banter. We got a bonus episode for you people. We're going to be jumping into and dissecting House of Dragons episode 3. Let's get it.
Three, after a long time of waiting, it feels like an age at waiting a week for these episodes to come out, to be honest. And it's quite nutty, and I'm excited. So, let's jump into it, right?
Let's jump into it. Before we go deep down in the depths of this episode 3, what was your favorite part?
There were so many. I think
there was a lot going on.
I think it's probably gonna be the end. I think that was the big interesting moment.
Really? Okay.
That's what the battle was. I mean, what was yours?
My favorite part was, and we're gonna talk about this in depth, was King Viserys, or what was his name? Viseron?
Viserys?
Yeah, King Viserys. When he was in front of the fire, that was my favorite part, because it really dives deep down to his soul and why he did what he did, his motives, right? For unfortunately killing his wife to get the baby. Like, he was in denial, like he was running from something or to something that caused him to unfortunately forgo his wife's life in the hopes of an heir, right? I get what you're saying. Like, the action was dope, it was cool, but I like the story development. That was really cool.
It is interesting, but it's crazy because we start off like, I didn't expect it, right? So it went straight 200%. It went like, it went 100 miles an hour, and it was like,
bro.
3 years later,
real quick.
It was like 3 years. It didn't even give us the time to breathe. I was like,
nope.
And then suddenly, bam! We were 3 years ago, and now we're 3 years later. He's got a kid, right? Called Aegon, and he's 2 years old. He's celebrating his second birthday. And bam! That's where we stand. That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I got confused because I look up and all of a sudden, Alicent is pregnant, and I'm like, here we go. And I knew they were gonna have kind of they're gonna butt heads. I knew it.
Alicent and Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a given. It's less so that she. I think it was because mostly her dad rather than Alicent herself, because Alicent doesn't really have a say in the matter. She's kind of go with it.
Yeah, she's kind of a pawn, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It sounds bad, but she's literally just a pawn to continue the bloodline, right?
Yeah, and she delivered. She gave a healthy kid, so I guess that was what he wanted anyway. But yeah, so 3 years later, that was crazy. So
yeah, let's go through it scene by scene. I know we got a bunch of notes. So basically, the episode starts out. Alicent obviously walks up to Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's under the tree, and she's having this guy play a song, and she's obviously in a horrible mood, right? And she knows Alicent's there. Alicent tries to get the gentleman that's playing the harp or the guitar, whatever you want to call it. Get his attention and have him leave, and then you got this weird tug of war where this guy's kind of in the middle, and he looks at Alicent and he looks at Rhaenyra, and he's like, who do I listen to? I listen to the queen, right, this young girl, or do I listen to Rhaenyra, who's been obviously part of the family that's in charge?
But she's also the heir, so eventually
she'll be the
king, quote unquote queen, right?
Yeah.
She'll be the queen.
Yeah, so this guy's literally sitting there like, whose good side do I want to be on? Whose bad side? Who's the lesser evil, right?
Yeah.
So they're sitting there in this tug of war. Obviously, he eventually leaves, and now you have this tense standoff where Alicent is asking, hey, your father wants you. He's obviously hailing you. Let's go. And then you have this weird standoff where pretty much it's kind of like, like in an argument where things don't need to be said, but you can feel them. I feel like that's what was going on. She obviously didn't say, there was a lot of attention. She obviously didn't outright say, hey, you betrayed me and my trust. You didn't tell me what was going on with my father. It looks like in her eyes, correct me if I'm wrong, that her friend was literally planning this from the go. Like, she was courting her father. Like, she was snaking her way into the garden, right?
I agree, but I also
100%.
disagree as well. I don't think, the game is being played by her dad, really. Right, because he's the one who said do this, and she's like, all right, I guess I gotta do it. It's less of her playing, it's more like her dad's controlling, right? And we find out we'll talk a little bit more about her dad anyway, which is interesting. So I guess
Yeah.
she has more annoyance with her own father. So Rhaenyra is pissed off at Viserys, obviously, because he chose Alicent because she was a healthy girl who was of age, I guess. She was 17 at the time anyway, and she created two kids. And he didn't want to marry a young child in Corlys's daughter. That would have been a bit yikes, dude, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was interesting. I like the way it's gone. I like there's a little bit of tension there, but it's less respect. It's more like her just, when you throw your toys out the pram, she's annoyed, she's pissed off, she's not happy.
She's not in a good mood right now, right?
Exactly.
I think Rhaenyra, she definitely knows her father need to do it, but I think she's just upset. And we're obviously gonna talk about later in the episode, but it shows later in the episode that she feels like her father has no use for her, right?
I think that is a theme of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, she's pissed, right? She's upset. But let's go down the scene. So pretty much we already talked about Rhaenyra and Alicent, their feud. Obviously, they got caught in the middle. The next scene that I recall is James Lannister offering his hand, right? But before he offers his hand, he has this weird, awkward this interaction with Rhaenyra, where he starts to talk about, hey, I'm a Lannister. And I think this is the first time we saw a Lannister, right?
Yeah, so this is the first mention of Casterly Rock and blood Lannisters, right? So
yeah, pretty much rocks up and he's like, hey, I'm a Lannister. And she's like, oh, huh.
Cool.
I couldn't guess, I didn't know all the lions on your chest, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, shots fired. And he's pretty much flaunting his riches and his name, right? He's very boisterous, not humble at all. And she obviously she's not rocking with it from the beginning. And I think one thing I got confused at, he obviously said, he says, I'll make a dragon pit for you. And she gets pissed. Now, I have a theory why she gets pissed, but do you know why she got upset?
I think she got annoyed because he's insinuating they're going to get married. He's going to move over there with her dragon, right? So
I see.
So the dragon is going to be like, when you have a dragon, you essentially control way more than you normally would, right? You get more loyalty because people are afraid of the dragon. The dragon's a big chess piece, right? It's like having a queen piece. So I think that's why he would have said that as well. He would have been pissed.
Okay. I thought for a second that didn't click. I was thinking more of he was going to capture dragons and trap them in like this pit and breed them, and that's why she was pissed.
No, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Don't think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went off way to the left.
He's basically saying, bring your dragon and yourself with you, and essentially he's going to use that dragon not
as a chess piece.
I don't think he can ride it. I don't know if he's allowed to as a non Targaryen, but yeah, he's basically using the image of the dragon,
and her obviously for power,
her,
like you said, like a chess piece. Okay, all right. And what's the next scene after that?
I mean, she straight up goes, "Yeah, I ain't joining your Casterly Rock Club," and then instead we go hunting, right? That was it's a pretty cool thing. I thought the hunt was for the boar, but it's actually for the stags, right? The big deer.
The stags, and they're looking for the white one.
Yeah, which she found later on. We find, but it was cool. So like, she hates having to be quartered around and being sold off. Essentially, what she says, she's like essentially being sold off to another family, and she's no longer needed, right? So she's getting sold off to all of these other families, and she's not for it. So she's like, all right, screw this, I'm out. She rides fast, and guess who comes running, troppling along?
Oh, Mr. Christian Cole.
So I think he's gonna be a fan favorite, guaranteed.
Oh, he is. He's already a fan favorite. I feel like there's something between them already, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little spark. I feel like throughout all this confrontation and all this debacle and all this headbutting and this power struggle, tug of war, I feel like he actually is the only one that actually cares about her, and he's genuinely showing it by protecting her, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I obviously he's been tasked to protect her, but I think he's doing it out of he cares for her now, right? I kind of get that vibe going on.
But we got to remember the king's guard, so that's what he is. They're not allowed to have wives.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Remember, in Game of Thrones, where Sir Lannister wasn't allowed to. He wasn't
Oh,
allowed
you're
to.
right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So
You're right.
he's like, yeah, screw this. I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like it's different. But I'm pretty sure. I'll correct me if I am wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Kingsguard, they're not allowed to have wives. So that's why it might not even happen. It might happen in secret. So who knows?
Oh, that's gonna be juicy. A
It
love
might happen in
affair
secret.
behind closed. Oh, that's gonna be good. I think that's where it's going. That's gonna be spicy.
That will be. But yeah, I
Ooh.
don't think she's gonna pick anyone. Did you wait? Let me just kind of hold. Did you see how
Yeah.
the way she after she got trampled by that boar and it basically got immobilized, she went back and she gave it a couple like jib jabs.
Yeah. And for everybody wondering what we're talking about, basically, if you haven't seen it, obviously there are spoilers, but her and her father had a yelling match at the party.
Did you just
and
say
she
spoilers?
says,
This whole thing is spoilers. What do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I mean, if you're at this point, then we've already spoiled quite a bit. I'm just warning people if they're trying to figure out what we're talking about, and they're like, "Wait a minute, they're talking about House of the Dragons." I didn't know this was the show they were talking about, but no.
Oh my
But
days.
yeah, so basically, she I don't want to say she throws a fit. She rightfully is upset. Her and her father have a yelling match, obviously at the party, and she runs off, jumps on a horse, and Mr. Christian Cole pursues. Obviously, that's his duty. And then, they kind of have a talk, and then he kind of playfully says, I'll kill Lannister, what I mean, for you. And I was like, ooh, okay,
damn.
okay. Obviously, it was a little jokey, but, I feel like he would do it sooner or later because I think he's in love with her. But they have that talk. Obviously, they're still out in the woods. It's late at night. They hear a noise in the bush. Rustle, rustle, rustle. He draws a sword. And what charges him? A boar out of nowhere. Straight.
Yeah, that really came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere, lands on his ass, and runs to the bushes, comes out of the darkness, and proceeds to pretty much bulldoze towards Rhaenyra. She obviously panics. She's obviously on her back, backpedaling, and it starts to thrash her. He comes up, puts it right through the head, the sword right through the head. And that part where you're talking about, where Rhaenyra obviously gets up and starts to go ham on the already dead boar.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Dai Ying, and she was just like slap, slap, slap.
I think that symbolizes something.
I think it's just her frustrations.
Her
honestly.
frustration, yeah. I think so too. I think she was. I mean, it was already dead as it was, or dying, and she just like, it wasn't so much she wanted to kill it. It was just she's like pissed, like she's had enough. She's like up to here with it, and she just wants to let out her frustration. And unfortunately, the boar caught the end of that knife.
Oh yeah, that boar got all the smoke.
All the smoke, and that was kind of like a bonding, a little bonding experience between her and Mr. Cole. So I thought that was really cool. Two birds with one stone.
It was cool because at the end of that, they kind of had this little view, and then they saw the white stag. And did you notice how she goes, "Don't kill it"?
Yeah.
Right? So that's got to be symbolism for something. It's got to mean something when she says that. Don't kill it.
Oh yeah, but that's after the fact that I believe Mr. King Viserys talked about his vision, his dream in front of the fire, right? Before that happened.
Yeah.
And that kind of, yes. So let's talk about that. So basically, he's there with Alicent. And Alicent, I feel like Alicent at this point kind of knows her place, her role, right? Is she really the king's wife? And I think she knows, like, yes, her title is the king's wife, but she's just a little girl, right? She's there to do her duty to Hightower house and to the house of, obviously, Targaryen, right? So she's basically just carrying a child. Do you think Viserys really cares for her, or is just kind of go through the motions because he has to?
See, I think he's both in this grief phase because he never actually grieved for his
his
he
wife.
he had the the funeral and stuff, but he didn't actually explain like how he was feeling with his daughter and explain why he did what he did. He kind of did say like he wanted a son, and that kind of has been biting on Rhaenyra. It's got to be like, well, he's always wanted a son, and he killed his own wife
for a son.
And like, what kind of message is that sending to Rhaenyra?
To the daughter.
Yeah, who's like, well, am I actually valued, or am I just in place of a son? Now that you have a son, do you even need me?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all the emotions like fluttering around her head.
That's wild. Yeah, so he's standing in front of the fire with Allison, and she's obviously like, "What's wrong, my king, my husband, my liege?" And he breaks down. Like he's literally drunk. This man turned up at the party. This man is drunk. I mean, I'd be drunk too after every Tom, Dick, and Harry is approaching me, asking for, my daughter's hand in marriage, knowing that she's upset, and everybody throwing, like he said, I've been having garms up top of garms, clothes, gold jewels thrown at me for your hand, and you don't want it. You don't want any of it, right? So he's in this tug of war. So he's at this point, he's drunk in front of this fire, which is a bad mix, and he spills his guts, and he just breaks down and says, he admits it, I literally sacrificed my wife for the hopes of a child over a dream, right?
Oh yeah.
He had a dream, and in this dream, if I have this correct, there's a male child, what he calls a male babe, right? That's wearing a conqueror's crown, and so he's thinking that's his journey to get a son, right? So this dream has obviously driven him to madness, to the point where he wants to sacrifice his late wife to get this babe with a crown, right? And this whole journey, he sacrificed his wife. He sacrificed the relationship with his daughter. He's done his fatherly duties with Allison, right?
Yeah.
And he's miserable, right? So what does he do? He appoints Rhaenyra as an heir to make it right. Like, this is him righting his wrongs. This is him trying to get redemption, right? Trying to wash his hands of blood. He can't. He never will. This is not going anywhere. His relationship with Rhaenyra is tarnished. His wife is dead. All he has is Rhaenyra and Allison, who's obviously in the House of Hightower, and they got their own motives with Mr. Otto, I feel like he's a snake.
You know what Otto said though? Like, after that conversation, he straight up said, like, if you need a husband for Rhaenyra, look in your son. I was like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
He goes, just let her marry your son.
He literally just looks at the kid, and I was like, okay, at this point, this man is just like, he is literally it's all about power with him. This is so twisted, and I think we have to take in consideration the day and time we live in, right? The time period. Yeah. We're not back in medieval days where there was obviously family marrying family to keep the power in the family. So this was normal, but the fact that we get to pull the veil aside and take a look behind the veil and be like, this is actually how it was done is wild. And that was normal.
It is. Obviously, he doesn't want to do that. Like, no, I don't think any of them want to actually consider that weird suggestion that Otto said.
Yeah.
I thought that was a weird thing that he was saying. But as we know already, Otto says stuff, and Otto makes it happen.
Otto's like a little finger.
Yeah.
Otto is smooth, man. He's like that devil in your ear that just whispers, do this, do that, do this. Yeah. This is what you want. And Viserys is so tired. He's just like, okay, sure. I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do that. So I think Otto, the Hightower family, they're jockeying for power, just like any other house.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So yeah. So after that happens, he spills his guts and admits to Allison, in the midst of the universe, that he's this desperate man. He has a broken relationship with his daughter, and he sacrificed his wife, all in hopes of fulfilling this legacy, this prophecy, this dream. He's obviously failed miserably. He attempts to, they go hunting, right? Well, he doesn't hunt. His army hunts for him, right? And he just shows up to claim the glory, to do the final kill. Yeah, do you want to talk about that part?
Yeah, like the spear was kindly donated by the Lannister.
Kindly.
And, he was like, yeah, here, take this. And he had a little bit of a back and forth with the king, and he was like, earlier. Oh, you're going to name your son the next king, right? Ooh. Right? Nudge, nudge. And he was like, yo, you questioning my decision?
Oh.
Yo, what the?
Yeah, he was like,
yeah, he kind of ate.
Yeah, he got caught.
Put him on the spot, man.
Yeah, he put him on blast. He was like, no, but I thought, and bro, this man said treason.
He took the spear though, and then he did end up going to the hunt when they did find a stag. I don't think it was the white one, but it was stag. And it took 2 hits, so that was weird. I don't know why. Okay, so everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason.
When he jabbed the stag for the first time, it didn't kill it. And then he did it again, and then he killed it. So everything comes in twos. The episode's name is second in his second. Am I tripping? Is second to his name, right?
Yeah.
Second to his name, or second of his name, and it's his second birthday. Everything's coming in twos. So weird, right? Second birthday, 2 stabs. It's so weird. Everything is like just strange. Like he's about to have a second kid. Like
everything's number 2. Yeah,
everything's coming in twos. So I don't know what that means. It means something. There is some
very cryptic.
To it. His wife and his earlier son died. That's 2 people. Look, there's like 2s coming on.
Two.
Right?
2. Yeah.
A lot of 2s. So there's a little bit of a mystery behind these 2 situations. So I want to find that out. But I think we'll find out more about that later on. But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was like an interesting thing that's happening.
Yeah. I thought it was obviously he went to stab the. Everything's so the symbolism is crazy in this episode, right? When they were going crazy on the boar after his dead, Viserys failing to stab and kill the stag on the first try, the frustration on his face. Obviously he's a king. He's done this before, right? But he looks so out of his element, right? He stabs it once. It's just hoop and holler. It's dying. It's screaming top of his lungs. And everybody kind of looks uncomfortable. Not because they haven't seen this before. Because they can obviously see that Viserys, the king, is obviously, he has his inner turmoil, this fight.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody's kind of just like, dang, he's really going through. He can't even kill a stag. Sitting there tied up. Obviously, he's thrashing around, but he's done this before. What's going on? This is out of the normal. You know, some guy comes up and says, hey, by the way, just stab it one more time right there. And I thought that was symbolism, too, for the fact that everybody's trying to guide him where they want him. Over here, over there, go over here, go over there. No, he wants you right there. And he's like, can I do anything right? I thought that was very, very powerful. So he stabs it again and it goes down and it dies. And he's just so tired and exhausted, not just physically, but mentally. This man is drained, being pulled back and forth. We want this, we want that, we want this. Sacrifice your family because we want this, right? And if we notice throughout the whole episode from the beginning, they were talking about a white stack, a white heart. What color was it? Brown.
It was like just a gift because the hunt was going on for too long.
Yeah, they were like, well, it's not what we wanted, but hey, claim your glory. And I was like, dang,
who found the white one though? Rhaenyra did, so maybe he means something. Maybe the next true heir. Blah blah.
I think it does. So I did a little research, a little pitter patter on my keyboard. I did a little research, and it actually, so the white stag symbolizes obviously success, right?
Yes.
Success, power. I could be wrong, but in this situation, I think it clearly shows that the king's not going to get what he wants, no matter how much he dreams, no matter how much he tries. He's messed up, right? He didn't get the white stag. Right. And he goes through all this trouble just to get a brown stag. He's got the men, the army, a whole gang out there looking for the stag, and they couldn't even find the white stag. But what does Miss Rhaenyra get? She doesn't have to try. It just walks up to her. I think that's powerful in itself. It just walks up to her effortlessly. And the thing is, Viserys through this whole thing has been so confident.
Yeah.
And she's been, and obviously Rhaenyra's been so just contemplating, what am I doing? What's been going on? And I don't know if this is right. And I feel like the white stag was a reassurance from the universe saying, hey, you're the chosen one.
I think you might be right. I think that is what it symbolizes. You know, it's pretty cool. But just a quick note that I kind of left out to rewind a bit. There was also one more choice in marriage proposals, which I thought was interesting as well. He said I think it was a master of laws, right? He said that there is one more. Don't forget, Corlys. Corlys has a son. His son is also up for, he needs to get married too, and it would be a good match.
Is it Lenore?
Yeah, Lenore.
Yeah. Okay.
So Lenore Valerion, who's also of pure blood, I guess. He can, because you remember we'll move on anyway. But so in the next one, we do see Lenore for the first time, and he is also a dragon rider because he is pure blood.
Yep.
So that could happen potentially too.
That's true. That would technically keep the bloodline where they want it, right?
Yeah, and it would be a good match, to be honest.
It would, and it would at the same time kind of bridge this burnt bridge that he's created with the house of for Corliss. We didn't take your daughter, but Allison will take your son's hand. So we'll, kind of mend this bridge.
Exactly. Corliss kind of gets what he wants. But anyways, let's move on to the big meat of it.
Ooh,
the big action scene.
The entree.
We see. Okay, look. Before we go to this part again, we'll jump in far ahead. We got a note, right, saying that they're losing the war and they need help, right?
Yep.
And then the king's like, he thinks about it. Then eventually, Allison's like, you know what would you do? He's your brother. You got to do something. And he decided, yeah, sure. Let me send a message. Say I'm gonna send 10,000 men and 2 ships, whatever he did, right? Sorry, 2,000 ships, 10 men. That was the number. And then he got a guy to come to Daemon and share that note. Daemon at that point, he's like fighting. He's losing this war. He keeps doing like flame runs with his dragon, and it's not working out. He gets shot by a couple arrows. He's hurt. He's not having fun. And guess who everyone's blaming it on? Guess who everyone, including Valerion's brother, Corliss's brother, he's also saying, yo, this is Daemon's fault. He's trash. We need someone better.
Yeah, Vaemon was his name, right? Vaemon was his name, who was throwing a fit.
Yeah. So yeah, he was upset, and it was about to be a bad situation until that note came along, and that put like a fire beneath Daemon, because he knew that if he accepts this help, if he accepts defeat, and if he accepts like that his brother has to help him out,
the helping hand,
he will lose the battle. He will lose the battle for the overall main war, right, of the throne. Right. And guess what he did? He did the unthinkable. Oh my days! This is like a scene out of Jon Snow.
This was wild. This was wild, man. One man army.
He was like, they said we need to have bait. He goes in. He became the bait, and he slashed all the way. We actually seen how good he actually is.
Yeah, I was surprised. He's really good.
And I'm thinking, if he's that good, I wonder what Kristen is like, because Kristen beat him.
Oh, you're right. And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, if he's that good, I mean, he's a one-man army. How did he lose to Mr. Cole? But Mr. Cole must be a beast too.
Yeah, remember, Mr. Cole is from the Martell region, Dawn. He's from that area.
Yeah.
So, we always had like some good Dornish characters that we liked, like the Viper, the Red Viper, and then
the Red Viper's dope. Yeah.
So yeah, basically that was a big thing. That was crazy though. I think.
Yeah, I mean he went ham.
It just shows a lot, like the difference, because he just refuses. He's a different man now from what we saw. He wants to do something. He's not here for fun. He's here to make a difference. He wants the Stepstones back. He wants to eliminate this mess. Wants to win the war, and he's doing it. So he did all that. Last minute, bam! Army saves the day. It reminds me almost exactly like the
Jon Snow
Battle of the Bastards. Right?
Yeah, where he stood there and he drew his sword. Yeah.
And then the horses, bang! They all came out. So that was kind of like a scene. I thought it was a good homage as well.
Yeah, I do. Looking back, I was looking up pictures and stuff online, and there's so many homages to Game of Thrones. So many similar scenes, the stances, the scenes, the transitions. When that one, what's his name? King of Crabs, the bad guy.
Yeah, the crab feeder.
Yeah, the crab feeder was standing in the cave looking out. There's another scene like that. I do want to backtrack and touch on Valerion, the house of Valerion. Yeah, Valerion. When Mr. Corliss was like, "Hey, brother, you might be my blood, but we're not tolerating treason." That was wild. Like in front of all these armies, these houses, this man, Vaemon, was throwing a fit. He's like, we already lost this war. It's not going well. He's blaming on Daemon. He's like, if they won't follow him, why should we? That was wild. And everybody's already pissed. Everybody's tired. You can tell that they've been losing. And to say that out loud. Now, granted, that might be what everybody's thinking, but to say it out loud is treason, right? And Corliss is like, hey, bro, let me just, you might be family, you might be blood, but stay in your lane.
But you ain't chatting no smoke.
Yeah, you're chatting no smoke. Like, slow down, pump those brakes, put them in place. And like, he's like, time and place. This is not the time or place ever to do this out in, in the middle of a war, bro. Like, chill. Right? And obviously, Vayman was scared. They're losing the war. He doesn't want to die. Right? And then we get a glimpse at Mr. Lenore.
Yeah,
the son.
He was saying, Dracarys. I remember that.
Dracarys.
With his dragon.
Yeah.
It could be a good fit, but we didn't even see too much of him. So I feel like he's a side character for now until he's like called upon.
I think he'll come more into play. I really like that family, House of Valeron. I really like that family. I want to see more about them. Now the question is, my question to you is obviously because you remember the end of episode 2, Damien and Mr. Corliss, they had a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. They were planning a coup. Right. Do you think that's still at play? Right.
I think it did change when the child happened, but it was a coup because there wasn't an heir yet, and he still hasn't called a male heir. So I think Corliss will still be thinking that.
Oh, he
said that statement about the mutiny. He doesn't want to do that, but he also wants to have his way in some way, right? So maybe the idea will get pushed around that his son kind of gets like fed into, you know, the
with Alicent.
Marriage. Yeah,
that might work. That's gonna be a bigger power struggle. So basically, Mr. Damon comes through, one-man army, just starts taking people out left to right, gets hit by a couple arrows, falls down, right? Looks up to the heavens, the skies, and his dragon comes in and saves him, right? I knew that was going to happen, right? And the cool thing, I think the King of Crabs? Why do I keep forgetting that? King of Crabs. Crab feeder. He constantly keeps looking at the ridges in the skies because he knows the dragon's up there. He knows the dragon will come.
So he's a strategist. He was going to call his men back into the caves again.
Yeah. He was a strategist, and he kind of just kept you notice he didn't send all his troops at once. He kind of just head nodded. I thought that was really dope. He kind of just head nodded, and the guys, that was dope. And he head nods, and the guy goes out there. He's kind of sending group by group to see when that dragon's coming out, kind of baiting the dragon. He didn't send all his men out, right? And then obviously Damon gets trapped under that structure. More men come out. They kind of surround him. The dragon shows up. And then Crabfeeder runs to the cave. Damon says not to. So this part was weird. This part was really weird.
Yeah.
For the Crabfeeder to show up so for the Crabfeeder, like the build up for Crabfeeder, I thought was dope. Like I thought he was gonna be like the like that guy, that villain throughout the whole season, but he dies. He gets cut in half.
We don't even see it. We don't even see it. We just see him dragging a torso along. And
that was so anticlimactic, man.
I was like, where's the big flash?
Yeah, like you could have cut out that whole I do like the character development in the power struggle in the beginning with Alicent and Rhaenyra and the Lannisters. I like that with Cole, Kristen Cole, Rhaenyra, the whole bonding with the boar. But give us what we want. He went to the cave, and I was like, "Oh, it's about to get spicy. We're about to see this villain fight it out with Damon. Test of wills, test of power." And then all of a sudden, he just kind of runs out, walks out, dragging half the body. And I'm like, what?
It's like we've been hearing about this Crabfeeder for technically 3 years. And this Crabfeeder has destroyed everyone. And then within a flash of like 5 minutes, he's just dead.
Damon dodged all these arrows. Dragon saves and runs to the cave. Cuts the Crabfeeder in half, and that's it. I was so disappointed, man.
That was a sad payoff, but the action was good. I really like seeing that action. Seeing
it was good.
Damon in his stride.
Yeah, but who's the villain now? Do we just go back to like inner turmoil? Just go back to the houses fighting for power? Like, are those gonna be the villains? I'm so disappointed, bro. You have no idea. How are they gonna build up the? How are they gonna build up the Crabfeeder with all these dope cryptic scenes where he's not talking? He hasn't said a word. Like he's that villain. He's that man, right? And he's over here nailing people to crosses and having crabs crawl people's faces, and then he just gets chopped in half. Like for all this, that's frustrating.
Yeah,
that's frustrating.
But oh well. I mean, look, it was a good episode overall. I really enjoyed it. The action was really good. The messages that were sent were really good as well. Like, we saw the inner turmoil between Rhaenyra. We saw the meaning behind all of the animals dying, etc. We saw his brother go ham. That was really nuts. I like that. But the biggest thing is what's going to happen next, and that is, what does the result of this winning this war mean? Right? They've been at it for 3 years. What does winning it mean? Right?
True.
And then number 2 is, who does Alicent marry? And number 3, what's gonna happen? I'm just excited.
Yeah. So I actually came across on Twitter this really cool fact, right?
Yeah.
So Kragus Dreha, which is the crab feeder, right?
Yeah.
He wears a fractured version of the mask that the sons of the Harpy used in the Game of Thrones centuries later during their rebellion against Daenerys Targaryen. You remember that whole uprise, that rebellion?
Yeah.
He wears the same pretty much face mask, but it's fractured. So obviously this is the origin,
like a payback,
right? This is the start, and in the Game of Thrones, which is obviously centuries later, that was payback.
But that was all the way in Essos. That was far away.
That was far. So this isn't the end of it. That actually makes me happy. There's hope. This is the end of it. This, like, they're not done. Like, the crab feeder, unfortunately, they built him up, but maybe they built him up as like a launching pad for
a bigger picture.
A bigger picture. Yeah.
The advisors did say, like, if you do this, you're gonna be in an endless war, and it's gonna be a bad war. So we'll see what, like, it's a free, remember the free cities, quote unquote. So he's going to be at war with the free cities. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
So basically the crab feeder he's a martyr to his people now.
Yeah.
Basically he just pretty much stole, at this point, like he said, he's going to be, if he does this, he's going to end this war. He stoked the flames, and these flames, going to give him all the smoke.
And we'll see how it turns out in episode 4. I'm excited for it already.
I'm just sitting here frustrated. I'm just like, you gotta be joking me. But yeah, man, that pretty much wraps up episode 4. I thought it was episode 3. I thought it was really dope, man. I'm excited for episode 4. Every week, I'm not disappointed. I have not been disappointed over these episodes, so I'm excited. I'm really hyped. I'm hooked. I'm not even gonna lie, I was a little like, House of Dragons, a spinoff of Game of Thrones, but I'm hooked. Character development, it's phenomenal. I'm excited.
It's gonna be fun.
But yeah,
we'll find out. One.
Finally, next one. But yeah, so like we said, guys, these are bonus episodes. We'll be throwing these out every single week until the show ends, and then we find another show that we want to talk about, like The Boys. Next season, we'll do that there. So you get 2 episodes every single week from us to you. You're welcome. So look forward to spoilers, and you get spoilers. So be warned, if you've listened to this episode all the way through, you already know what to expect. Next week we will drop another one for episode 4, and so on and so on. So like we said, 2 episodes. We'll have our main episode, which will be dropping every Tuesday, and then this episode, if you're listening to it now, will be dropped every Wednesday or Thursday. We'll find out. We'll see what works. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, us deep diving into episode 3 of House of Dragons with 2 of the best hosts in the game, Donald, aka G, and the one and only Sami, aka Don Dada. That man. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll see you guys next week. Let's get it. Peace.